And now, my friends, I shall tell you of my first encounter with one of the most despicable creatures I've ever known. The Gor'Ryth. This is how it was when I first confronted the Gol'Ryth. What is a Gol'Ryth, you ask? It's not a demon, so we didn't need an exorcist. It's not a ghost, either. What use are guns against ghosts? You can't kill what is already dead. The Gol'Ryth is rotting flesh, begging to be killed. They can be destroyed with a firearm. No problem at all. But the main difficulty that you will have is finding one before it finds you. And by then, more often than not, it's too late. I first encountered the Gol'Ryth 5 years ago, when the people of the village of Gor'Ryth complained of a terrible stench emanating from their local cemetery. I left at once to investigate the matter. And when I arrived in the village, I too smelt the same foul stench the people had mentioned. It was despicable. It was all-consuming. The moment you arrived, it hit you like a fist, almost knocked you down, choked the lungs.
I like sneaking by graves.
I knew at once that this was no ordinary stench, that there was some foul evil behind it. And I was determined to get to the bottom of the matter.
The older the flesh, the more satisfying it is to the tongue.
As unbearable as the task was, I followed the stench to its source until I found the local cemetery of Gor'Ryth. And I saw a very, very disgusting thing. One of the graves had been dug up. Bones were scattered across the ground. Some fiend had dug up a grave, taken out the body, desecrating it, consuming the rotting flesh within. What kind of a vile thing could do this? So I read a little into local lore, and that was when I read about the Gor'Ryth. An evil fiend, born out of darkness. Some Gor'Ryths can be over 1,000 years old. They were a race of ancient druids, cursed by the locals, doomed never to die, but to live on. And the only way that they can continue to exist is by consuming the flesh of either the living or the dead. They will eat animals, usually rats. For you see, the Gol'Ryths in ancient times were persecuted for obvious reasons and forced to live underground. They dwell these days in sewer systems. That's where you will find them, if you're stupid enough to go down there. To maintain their bodies, they must sustain themselves on flesh. Preferably, as far as they're concerned, human flesh. And they will often set traps in the middle of the night. People will fall into ditches or pass out with horror at the sight of the thing. They will then grab the body, pull it away, and that person will never be seen again. They will vanish. Now, when I first arrived at the cemetery, the Gol'Ryth had already done its deed and was gone. But I knew it would come back. I deemed that this particular creature was hungry to make such a bold desecration at this grave. It had to be eager to eat more flesh. I knew it would return. I knew it would come back. So I lay in wait for it. I settled down and I waited for the night to come again. And sure enough, I saw this fire-repellent, despicable monster, this stain on the earth, come crawling out of a hedge. Most sensible people would be in their beds at that time of the night, so the Gol'Ryth did not expect me to be there as it came crawling along across the grass. It picked out another grave. I could see it. I was just huddled away to one side behind a tree. It didn't know I was there, and I watched it as it made its way slowly towards the next grave. Its claws began to sink into the ground. It would have dug away at the old earth to the coffin below and dragged the old corpse up and eaten it. I couldn't let it commit a second desecration of this church ground. Not again. So I waited back. And then I pulled out my firearm. For yes, I was no fool. I came armed for this encounter. And I came at it, stepping out of the shadows. And it turned and looked at me. And it knew the number of its days. So I stepped out of the shadows, and I took out my firearm, and I brought it up to the creature. "I have you now, fiend," I said to it. And it turned and stared at me. And I saw the evil darkness swim around in its evil eyes. It would have killed me had I not been armed. It would have came for my throat and tore it out. I know the Gor'Ryths. I know their ways.
You are weak. I have lived for 1,000 years. You have no power over me. No power at all.
You vile creature! Your reign of terror has ended. Now I send you back to the darkness whence you came. And nothing will give me greater pleasure than to destroy your putrid flesh. And like that, I plunged 3 silver bullets into the creature's black, festering heart. And it dropped down. Its old bones crunching as they hit the floor. What's dead should stay dead. When the deed was done, I advised the locals to burn the body of the Gol'Ryth, for they are vermin and carry disease. Once the creature had been burned, I told them that they should scatter the ashes across the fields, and then they should go to church and pray, and be thankful that the curse over their village had been lifted up. They were the lucky ones. But alas, the war is not over, for there are other Gol'Ryths out there. It is my duty to find them, all of them, and destroy them. And I will not rest until I have completed my sacred mission. So take heart, my friends. These creatures are vile, but they can be killed. If ever you find yourself walking by a cemetery at the witching hour, and you detect a vile stench, keep walking, my friends, keep walking. Do not stop. For there is a Gor'Ryth out there, waiting, maybe even waiting for you. Fear is the only true emotion, my friends. Look to the shadows. We are not alone.